Okay, see, it went that
Wow.
fast. Wow, like now it's instantaneous. Hey guys,
Hey.
we are live. I'm just looking at if we can shift this a little bit, but see this
That's
amazing
good.
genius that I have right here? This is,
Daniel Raphael.
he's known as like the wizard, the Jedi. We were actually out today. We were out today, and you know, this dude's like, or they were like, hey, I know who you are. You're like the fuck yes life mentor. And then they're like to him, they're like, you're that wizard. Right? That was awesome. Yep, wizardry is what he does. So this amazing being, Daniel, is we got to spend the day together to kind of dive in. Why did we spend the day together?
Wow.
Why don't you share?
Well, I just got back from Burning Man, and that's all about radical acceptance is one of the main tenets. And I feel like Marci just slam dunked that in me. And, you know, I've been through a journey of 30 years of just going through such a deep struggle, so much, you know, trauma. I won't go into the story, but...
Yeah, if people want to dive into what Daniel's story is and what he does as genius, it's like, it is really like you're just fascinated at this being and who he is, his ability. I could give you a background to like where I interacted with him, but long story short, we did some coaching in the past, and we wanted to do a one-on-one day basically together.
Yeah.
To dive into some things you have coming up. You have like high level. You work with high level beings around the world that you do deep dives with from, you know, and you're looking at like, how do I really integrate this, right? Like, how do we actually create abundance?
Yeah.
And so acceptance in these last few journeys that you had Burning Man, etc. You've been like de-shedding programs.
Oh, yeah. It was some of the best 2 weeks of my life going to
Look at all the
Organic Clips
hearts.
and Burning
You see
Man.
how many hearts we
Oh,
get?
look at all those
I
hearts.
get so many hearts. I gotta tell you, my people are amazing. They're
Yeah,
like,
so much love.
they're so much lovers. Like,
Yeah.
and we love it. We love it. They're like,
Yeah.
hearts. Thank you guys. So sweet of you. Okay.
So just from my gift of being able to see so many things that people can't see in themselves and other people, it was, I don't want to call it a curse and a blessing, but in me, just always see like so many things in me. I was like, oh, this can be optimized in this, and I became such a self-improvement junkie. You know, spending, you know, at the value of like, you know, $500,000 over the past few years. A lot of it was just gifted to me, which I'm so grateful for. But the really important piece that was missing was that full radical acceptance.
Yeah.
And I got to practice that at the festivals and at Burning Man. And I would just go to, you know, ride on my bicycle and complete strangers be like, okay, this is what's going on right now. This is what I'm working on. And just letting go in each moment, and then just meeting someone else, and just synchronicities were, and just coming here today with Marci, she got to really just show me like, whoa, you don't need to look outside of yourself and try to fix, or, you know, this, or feeling awkward and all that. It's just about loving that part of you and playing with it and realizing that's a gift and that's part of your quirkiness.
What's cool is, and this is what I think is so valuable for people to look at and to understand and hear, because I was telling you that we have a mutual friend that is in our community that was like just asking me like, hey, I'm doing this event on teaching abundance. Do you teach abundance? How does that look like? And I kind of laugh. I'm like, in a way, like, this is how abundance gets found, right? And you nailed it. And when you said, wow, it was like, how do you describe what really came up today? It's like coming in with like, well, okay, I got strategy around a business conversation. I want strategy around how to negotiate, or I want strategy around how I get to do my videos. I want strategy around how I get to like embody myself better. And even though that's where you thought that's where you wanted to go, right? Everything led to, well, that's an interesting story. Like, what if you actually just loved like, how do you embody who you are instead of trying to embody being a different type of movement or a different type of image on video, or etc. And as we look at all those things, you were just kind of like, you saw these layers of heaviness just lift off of you, where you're just like, oh, that's so much easier.
It became so simple. Yeah.
Right? And even on our drive back, as you were looking at the different packages and structure that you had for some of these calls, these conversations and negotiations, it was like, I was like, it's really simple. You know, you offer this, and this. It's really just more, what was behind all it was the acceptance of yourself, of saying, I am so fucking worthy of this. I know my value of what I share. I know what I give to people. So, wow, it's just me allowing myself, giving myself permission to do that. And we had structure, we had some things in place to assist you in going, this is what I'm practicing, right? Notice, guys, we're all just practicing, we're all just playing. So, you know, I love that you brought it down to you. I was like, what do you really feel like was if you describe today, and what we really got to dive into all day long, you know, what was that for you? And you're like, radical acceptance. Yeah. And radical acceptance is what will create radical abundance. Because it is when, and I always say, money is just a reflection of the amount of value you're giving to the world and how much you love yourself.
Yeah.
So we see a lot of, and you've experienced this, and you've probably interacted with a lot of people, this spiritual beings. So, you know, Daniel has gifts that are hard to describe. I mean, I had one session with him in January is when we first met, and I literally was like, I had no idea that this even existed, that someone could see so many things and allow me to see like contracts and some of the things that were going on, some of my programs that I got to then dive into. And he just has such a gift. He literally like could just see everything. And even with that, you still have your human journey and process of going, how do I accept that about myself and be okay to own that? And so a lot of spiritual beings, you know, even though they have all these gifts, tend to be like, it's about, oh, if I ask for money, which I'd love you to share on, because I think there's so many people out there that, you know, are so-called have gifts or healing abilities or whatever for people, and they have a really hard time asking for their value and setting their value, because it's like, well, I just have to help people, and if I ask you for money, you might think I'm a bad person, then it's not about the healing, and it's like, well, then you stay broke ass, and then you can't serve anyone, you can't support and help anyone unless you're actually supported yourself. So maybe share a little bit with people, you know, because I know that's been a little bit of your experience.
Yeah, definitely. And even some people have said, like, if you're, you know, helping people, you shouldn't be charging a lot, or it should be affordable to everyone.
What were their results, those people?
You know, the people that said, at least the couple of people that said that to me, they were just really upset with their lives and didn't have any money, really.
Projection,
and,
reflection.
You know, in the past, like, if you were in a community, in a tribe, and there was the shaman, you know, maybe at that time, like, he wouldn't charge anything, but, like, they would just give him everything, all the food he wanted, so they would build him a house. So, you know, while we're returning to community, it's important to value, you know, what's being given. And for me, it's like, I need a lot of supplements. I need all these things to be at that high vibration so that I can channel. And then when I get into that flow state, then I can help people and support people in empowering themselves in just minutes, right? And really fast. And so I started, you know, charging more of what my value is in the past year, I would say. And everything's just been
How do you think that showed up for you, where you might have validated it or been stuck in places that you didn't see it, where before it was like, you want to help people, and so this could be a pattern or program for people. I'll prove how good I am, I'll show them, I'll give them an experience, and it'll be like, yeah, we'll work it out. Or, you know, like, you give and you don't really get clear on the details of how you're going to get a return.
Exactly. I was always excited to give, and then when it came to receiving, I was like, I would run away, because there's this deep program, and I realized I thought it was actually helping the person, but it was just helping their program, which is not investing in themselves, enabling that, you know, belief in them, which is, you know, identifying that person with that program. And when I really started just creating boundaries, then the people that I've been working with, they've just had way better results, and they're just so excited, and it just feels like play. It doesn't even feel like work when I get on a call or do a session and tune into things, because everyone's feeling valued, and it's just very clear. And then we can over deliver and just share even more, and you just feel like, you know, you're not in scarcity, you're not drained, and you finish the call and you're like, okay, great, and you just have a great
you're uplifted from it.
You're uplifted from
it. And what you just nailed is, you said, like, you could give because that felt comfortable. You could show them your gifts, you could heal other people, you could do all these things, but when it came to receiving, shut down, I don't know how to ask, I don't know, right? And you would bolt. And it kept you running in the same game, attracting the same people that weren't really wanting to invest in themselves highly, or you not being honored for your time, effort, value. Maybe get clear with people on how does that show up for you? Where, like, if you're like, if I was afraid of receiving, how did that actually show up for me? How was that showing up in your life?
Yeah, well, I had even a couple clients that were, you know, just even some famous ones. There was like a literally famous TV star, and I was like, okay, like, you know, they were kind of actually going through so many issues, but they still had enough, you know, and like, it's like, okay, well, let's just give us one more session. We're just low right now. We'll pay sooner. Like, you know, we're gonna do this, and like, and I ended up like helping this guy for like hours, and a wife that just like, it was, and there was so much drama, I actually got attacked. I was like, why aren't you doing this? You know, like, don't, you know, and like ended up not getting 1 cent.
Yeah. So notice the drama triangle, right?
It's the drama triangle.
So I call the drama triangle is hero, victim, and villain. There's a drama triangle. We don't want no part of drama triangle. We're gonna avoid the drama triangle. I told you I'm a crazy ass on video, right? We talked about this today, where it's like, whatever's channeling coming through, I can be in my fire and I can be serious, and I can also be like, I'm just doing all these voices.
It's pretty funny now.
I don't know what comes out. It's just gonna come out, right? That was fun.
I love it.
So, noticing though, like when you look at what you offer, right? You're getting clear on the boundaries, like you talked about. Oh, first I was talking about the drama triangle. See how I can go everywhere? There's so many places I can go.
So many places.
Drama triangle: hero, victim, or villain. Okay. Now, if what you've been playing a role as in the past, a persona was a hero persona.
Right.
You would save people. You would take care of people. And again, it's like, well, if I save them, first off, we don't realize we're actually enabling ourselves, that that's how we're getting validated.
It's still from the false ego. It's all from that.
That's how we're enough. That's how we're the savior. That's how we're, validated, all those things. And the moment they actually, when you, as you keep doing that, your energy is like, because you're just like, give. There's no, so imagine it like you're like exhaling, exhaling. You never can receive and take a breath, which sustains your life force energy. And this is why it gets to be a value exchange. It's like, I give and I receive, and I give and I receive. And so when you just give, then all of a sudden you start to feel resentful. It doesn't feel good. And then that energy starts to show up. And the moment you call it out, you're like, all right, like, I got to cut it off. Like, that doesn't work for me anymore. All of a sudden, you as the hero, you become the villain.
Oh, yeah.
To the victim.
You switch, because they put you on a pedestal, and then you go to the other.
And then all of a sudden, you're like, you didn't save me, you didn't do this, da-da-da-da-da-da. So you're always going to be in some dramatic experience in the victim, villain, hero, drama triangle.
Totally.
And a victim doesn't want to be saved. So no matter how much you think, and this is why we talked about trading, we talked about, like, I do not believe in trades. We talked about trading, we talked about, not setting your boundaries of what you're willing to do, because someone would be like, I just want one more session from you. And we shared, this might be a powerful story to share, is when I told him with my very first $1 million client that I got, was like, again, you're going to be tested on your comfort zone of what you're willing to, of like what you're now saying is your worth and your value. Only you can set your value and your worth, right? So I told him how the very first $1 million client I got first reached out to me, was like, can I just talk to you for a minute? And he's like, can we just, me and my girlfriend, can we come out and can we spend like half the day with you, and like I'll pay you like $4,000. And I said, ha, thank you, sweetie. Thank you for letting me know that's what you want. That's not what I do. I was like, my rate for per hour, my lowest level personal client would be more like $15,000 for the hour, not a half a day VIP. I'm like, if you want to work with me, this would be the process. You would get to go through these audios so that we know that you have an understanding, and you can see where there's some blocks. You would get to fill out an application. Then we could have a conversation and see what would be a fit, and more of a discovery process. I set those boundaries. That turned into a $1 million client. That was someone who was like, all they could see, the whole view that they could see was like $4,000. Now you as the expert, you as the person who has a genius, I told you, they start talking to you and you're like, bing, 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 just like me. Any conversation I have, I'm like, I see your beliefs, your internal, blah, 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 blah. We see it all.
So much.
But if I'm like, oh, let me fix you, let me tell you, and da-da-da-da-da, we're like whoring ourselves out, right? We're whoring out our time, our effort, our energy.
Wow.
We're spewing ourselves onto someone else, being like, let me fix you, let me prove myself. And they didn't even want it. And they weren't even going to value it. That's why we get to be clear on like, so like what a past pattern for you might have been like, I just want to serve, I just want to help. And you trust that, it's going to come back to you. But when you're in that scarcity, lack, I got to help everybody, I have to do this, you're attracting the same frequency, right?
Totally.
Which is the victim who's like, I just want your help for free.
Yeah.
I just want a little bit of you. I'm not willing to invest myself. And so we got clear on like, now you're like, these are the packages that I offer. This is how I support people. I can guide them and direct them. And we had the perfect experience today of some people coming in our space and they're asking me all these questions, right? And I was like, yeah, cool, I can understand that. What I can direct you to is go to this link, go experience this, and you can fill out an application. We can see what's a fit for you. I didn't go, well, yeah, let me share with you and let me help you, da-da-da. So that's such a value for people, and seeing that it's really the value of how you own, like the value of your own information. Yeah. Like just being in this dude's presence, anything that comes out of his mouth is going to change your life. He has the ability to see what's unseen, which is one of your gifts we looked at, right? And so that kind of direction from a business conversation to seeing some of the blocks within yourself and how that's going to shift, that is invaluable. And so if someone is not in a place to receive that value, it's just not worth your time, effort, energy. So when you saw that and you own that, this is what I have to offer. This is what, and this is the big thing I want people to hear, is that you create what works perfectly for you, right? It's not like, well, other coaches are offering this, other people give that. I'm like, well, what do you want? What works for you? What works for your lifestyle? If you're traveling all the time, is it like every other week a call? Is it how many experiences with you? And so you get really fucking clear on this is where these are my areas of genius. This is what I offer, and this is how I'm willing to share with people. So then all it is like, cool, let's see what's a fit. This one, oh, if that's not a fit, then this would be your next option.
Yeah.
A, B, or C. But it's not like every Tom, Dick, and Harry is like, I want a session here, and I want this there. You become a bitch to circumstance, a bitch to trying to please everybody instead of owning your own value and your worth.
Yeah, and the sessions ended up being that good at all because I was just I wasn't in my power, and I wasn't in my flow.
Yeah.
And now that I'm really creating those boundaries, I'm starting to make videos that can serve many, many people and actually create a bigger impact.
Yeah.
Marci created a whole school in Colombia. And what happened was like rated the #1 school there.
Oh yeah, that story. Before you said Colombia, I was like, I don't know what story you're talking about. There's lots of stories. Yeah, I had there's a school that I found in Colombia.
Yeah.
And they went from being like the lowest graded school to the #1 when they went through the mindset coaching and shifted in that, and it's so is that what you're referring to?
That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
they're awesome. They're amazing.
And you could have done that if you just were trying to please everyone here that wanted a session from you and enabling that.
Right. Yeah. So you see where you're good. I see where you're going.
Yeah.
Good job. Yes. Very good. Very good truth nugget. Is that so? This is kind of like the fuck yes fit, right? We were talking about how I'm very clear now on everything being fuck yes fit. And guys, this is coming from someone who was like, I was such a scared little girl that was so afraid of being rejected, so afraid of not being enough, not being validated. I would have done anything and everything to do whatever you wanted me to do. Yeah. It's like, and notice where this is where I pick up on things where someone might say, like, if I ask you a question and you're like, what do you mean by that? Or like, what are you asking?
Yeah.
Those are signs of someone being like, I don't want to answer.
I'm scared.
Unless I answer the way you want me to, and I'm not sure what you're asking for. Instead of just like, well, this is what's there for me, right? Yeah. And I was the one who was like, I will do anything to make you like me, wearing a complete mask. Now, most people are like, how do you get into her space? Because I'm very fucking clear. That's why you're such a, I mean, look, you're hanging with me all day. This is why I hang with the coolest people. Good times. Right? Very clear on who gets to be in my space because my effort, my energy, my time is so valuable. So again, if somebody says, hey, could we connect? Could we meet? I'm like, thank you for letting me know that you'd love to connect. Help me understand, what are you seeking? What is that about? What are you really wanting? Well, we're cool. We're two conscious individuals. We're amazing people. I just think it'd be awesome. Cool, I appreciate that. Yes, and I love, interacting with conscious people. I still don't understand what your end result is or what you're really wanting. And I ask more questions because if it's like, if I'm not sure, and we talked about this today, being very specific so that you can understand what somebody wants. Otherwise, it's just like this guessing game and we're just operating out of patterns of assumptions and projections, etc. So, and when I ask enough questions, they're like, well, I'd love you to look at this project of mine.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what does that have to do with? And I get clear and I'm like, thank you. And you know what? That just doesn't line up to my commitments of my own time, effort, energy, or in my business, in my zone of genius. What I can do though is I can connect you with so-and-so that looks like a perfect fit. So see, I'm always about creating value, but now let's look at this. If I took the time to hang out with them and sit with them and connect on this, I just took my time, effort, and energy. I'm wasting their time, effort, and energy. Then it's like, oh, once they finally get to like, this is what this was really about. I'm being sly and kind of manipulative.
Yeah.
Then it's like, that doesn't even really fit. And if I'm not in authenticity and I'm willing to do that anyways, be like, oh yeah, let me think about it. Look at how much fucking shit is created instead of just being like, this is what, I honor is for my time, effort, and this is what I honor is for yours. And so many people aren't doing that because they're just not willing to be clear. Just like asking the money question.
Totally.
Right? We were talking about this today, which brought that up for me, is you're like, most people, and I find this very interesting, a lot of the high-level people that I coach with, when we get down to some of their processes, they're like, they don't ask, like, how much somebody makes and what they're grossing, and, I'm like, how can you know how to help them? If you don't know where their business is at, if you don't know what they're actually making, how would you even know what space is the right fit for them if we didn't know that?
Yeah, popping all those programs.
Right? Yeah, just popping all the programs.
And it seems like it's really flipping
look at Charles. We were just talking about you, Charles.
Charles is he's my spirit animal.
We went to, he is?
Yeah.
Guy says I'm his spirit animal. He's like in Colombia when we were doing our, all of our journeys down there, my ascension adventures. He kept asking, what's my spirit animal? And he kept getting Marci Locke. So
makes sense.
Guy claims me as his spirit animal. Wow. I'm like, okay. And then some the other day reached out and said I was a spirit animal. I'm like, I'm already taken. Guy says I'm a spirit animal.
Are you monogamous spirit animal?
You know what? I was like,
we're in Encinitas here, so
it's true, right? Like there's more openness. But Charles, today we went to Healthy Creations because I went there for the first time yesterday for breakfast. And I was telling him, I just saw Charles here yesterday. And
That was good food.
Yeah, it was good food, right?
Wow.
We were talking about how amazing Charles is. See? Charles, Awesomeness. We're surrounded by amazing people. So what would you say would be, coming from the experience you had, of being, and I think this is such a valuable thing to talk about, in that people that are so gifted, we talked about at the beginning, money is a reflection of how much value you're creating for the world and how much you love yourself. And this was my point. Amazing gifted beings can be like, they know, you can change people's life massively. If you were like unleashed and you're just, there's so much that you can do.
Yeah.
And yet, because what was missing was owning and loving yourself fully, right?
Yeah.
It gapped that you could only affect so many people. So that's why it's such a big valuable piece for how much you love yourself is the first way to abundance. It's always like with my people, I'm like, it's not a money issue. You're not dealing with a money issue. You're dealing with your inability to receive. That's all money issues are. They're your inability to receive. So what would you say serves you the most now, or what you're seeing and understanding this, being someone that came from like having so many gifts, and what was holding you back from giving that?
Yeah, well, it seems that really charging and receiving my value, that's actually more being selfless than being selfish. What's being selfish is worrying what other people think and trying to please them and giving them what they want, which is even what they want. It's what their programs want. And it's operating from fear. So I feel like that's really being selfish, because not only are you trying to please bullshit, but you're not allowing yourself to then share your mission.
You're trying to please bullshit right now.
Yeah.
That was good. Hashtag that.
Just flip the
Pleasing
tortilla.
bullshit. No more. Right?
Swipe left.
Right? Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
And just the simplicity I feel now. The other thing is just being so in the mind and just like, well, I gotta fix or process. There's, we don't want to repress stuff, but what I realize is like, there's this trap in the spiritual community of like, oh, we gotta process, and then it just becomes like you go down this endless hole, or like you gotta do ayahuasca 300 times, and it just keeps going. And I realize like, in Star Trek, there's the Vulcans, and they're like this advanced race, and they don't necessarily repress their emotions, but they just don't let them.
They don't have attachments.
They don't have attachments to it.
I could go off on that, yeah.
It's like, just go like in Vulcan mode. And like, if something comes up, like, okay, go through it and just like, but sometimes you could just be like, wait, no, that's not.
Well, you get to feel it. We talked about you feel it through versus think it through. Because if you're in your mental programming, your cellular programming, your emotional memory is 500,000 times stronger than your mental memory. So people go, see like you coming in today, you're like, well, this is what I want. I want to figure out this. 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 And I'm like, well, tell me about that. And I started to see the emotional connections, the little boy that wanted to be enough, the da-da-da. And that's what we looked at. And all of a sudden you're like, I'm light and I'm free and it's simple and it's easy. Fuck all that. This is easy, right? Like it gets to be easy. So there is a space to feeling things through and feeling it. Yet I love what you gave clarity to. It was the other day I was working with one of my spiritual mentors, and we were talking about claiming the emotion, like anger. Anger is such a
taboo in this spiritual community.
Thank you. I was like looking for the word Phoebe, whatever. It's like, no, don't feel anger, right? And it's like, if you imagine yourself being this funnel of, obviously you are this funnel, you're this connection to source, you're this connection to your oversoul, to all of that. We're gonna keep it simple versus going galactic on y'all. And with all, right, because we could. Bringing this through, it's like if you go, well, it's not okay for me to experience sadness because people won't accept me. You shrink it down. Same thing with anger. And all of a sudden you're not even this connection. You're like this mangled thing, and you're trying to operate. It just doesn't work. And so anger is the switch to creating something change. It's like, oh, I notice I'm angry. I can claim my anger, but my true self doesn't have an attachment to it. Meaning anger is just an emotion. I notice I feel angry about this. Oh, I'm angry at myself that I allowed that into my life, or I had that program, or I perceived it that way. What is this feedback telling me? What's the switch I get to do to allow something different? So there is this, like, you can move through it so quickly, versus I think it's stuck in this game. A lot of people do, which is like self-empowerment. I call it the surface self-empowerment bullshit, which is more like, well, this pissed me off when I was 4. Well, and then that pissed me off when I was 7. And then that made me sad when I was 3.
Yeah.
You could do that your whole fucking life.
Yeah.
Instead
of really going to help you.
Right?
Yeah.
Instead of you get clear on,
just
like,
feel it.
Yeah, well, we looked at, you get clear on the main program, or like, what's there? Oh, that's right. What am I feeling? I'm feeling this. This is why. It's that old thought that I wasn't good enough in the way that I was programmed there, and like, what is really true? And you can move right through it. And then now what you're doing is you're integrating. So today, even looking at where acceptance of self wasn't there that was creating this block from claiming your worth or
Yeah.
offering the packages that you have, etc. When we looked at it, you looked at like, how is it showing up? It's not just, and this is the key I think for most people, is there, most of them are just like, go to, like you said, you go to a festival, you do a little event, you listen to something, and you're like, oh, I see the truth is revealed.
Right.
And Monday and Tuesday, your shit shows up, and you're still doing the same ass stuff. You're still in the same patterns, behaviors, etc. So we got to look at, wow, where am I showing up where I'm trying to overcompensate or, you know, not own my worth? And you got really fucking clear on that.
Oh, yeah.
So now you're like, simple, I know exactly what I offer.
Yeah.
I know exactly how I operate with people. And then you're just practicing it. It's just like me going from, like, I was a bitch to circumstance and other people to I'm a very much so a fuck yes fit. It's like a, you know, we get to be clear on it being a fuck yes fit, and then we can move forward.
Totally. We find an action for each one to replace it, which is what I love. Because then you make it happen. Because you're the integration Jedi. You're like the Seabiscuit of integration.
I am an integration Jedi. That's a really good way to put it. It's like we find all the shit and then we actually create the change, where most people just see it and then are still running in it. So yes, very true. I know I've got an appointment. You've got something else to go to. What time are we looking at? What time's your time?
It's time to
cool.
Yeah.
It's time to lock it down.
Lock it down.
Something else was gonna come out there, or please the bullshit. I'm like, you got some hashtags that come out of this.
We got some hashtags.
Yeah. So if you guys, I mean, I know Daniel doesn't necessarily work with individual session per session basis. You pick a couple clients that you work with, kind of like me, like personal clients that get your space, your attention for a year and get massive shifts and breakthrough. Yet you have an event coming up, most likely beginning of the year, and a small one. We looked at like balance.
We got some Hogwarts wizardry. We got a telekinesis expert to activate.
This is what's so cool. I love, like I was telling him, like, I mean, Daniel knows about some of the craziest shit going on in the world that is so cool. And I'm like, babes, this is why I have like my high level mastermind. So it's not only my teaching, but I love bringing people and be like, let's talk, you know, let's talk cryptocurrency. Let's talk, you know, all the cray supplements. Let's talk all these things that just like open and expand your mind, and like the crazy tools and all that good stuff. Yeah. He is such a Jedi at that. This is why when I first met you and I didn't know your last name, I think it's probably still in my phone.
What did you call me? I don't even know about
Daniel-Jedi.
Oh, wow.
So
that's awesome.
It's so true, because Daniel is such a Jedi and a wizard. So I was like, wizards do exist. Jedis do exist. Unicorns, fairies, like you're that in a human form, which obviously we know we're not from here. We're definitely not doing that yet. There's ways that you can participate in Daniel. I remember hearing an audio Daniel did for a community experience. So fucking good. So good on like breaking down, like seeing and like helping you tune into what was really going on. And it's actually was one of the first spaces where I started learning and diving into, where I'll do when I'm with clients one-on-one or in, you know, down in the jungle, or some of the things that we're doing, we'll do ceremony space. And it's what I did with my mom and my sister.
Oh yeah.
Where I literally could see what was going on in their body and was able to pull that out of them. Daniel is like he's like the Jedi trainer of understanding those things. So if you guys can get into his space, you're a unicorn. Yay, I love it. See, we attract unicorns. Look at all the unicorns.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Bing, bing. And this is part of, guys, owning who you are, claiming who you are. We're saying, like, we only want to draw in. We had this conversation about a spiritual community that thought I was too aggressive because I say fuck. And, you know, I was like, and that's not my community, because I would want a spiritual community to be people that are like, we're open to all people. We're open to all things. We're not going to separate ourselves.
Want to go to Burning Man with me next year?
Totally, right? And that's when you're being fully you. Who do you draw in? The people that absolutely love you. I'm drawing in all the unicorns today.
That's the best.
Right?
You win.
Of course. Wizards, Jedis, unicorns, all the good stuff.
Yeah.
So if you guys, follow Daniel, you can see when his event's coming up, if he's doing like a little community experience where you might get a little taste of him. He does, if you're someone who wants to deep dive with him, then I know you'll do a certain amount of sessions for people if they're wanting to like do a deep dive. Yeah,
and I got some magic potions.
Totally. Oh my god, this guy has so much magic. I was like, can you just make a list of all the magic stuff?
Like a secret menu.
So good. Yeah, and I'm sure I'll have Daniel like jump into the mastermind and be sharing some things in my community, and coming to maybe some of the mastermind events at my house, because this is where we get to do more play, like the cool stuff.
We just did a channeling workshop here. It was like, whoa.
Right? Oh,
that was next
yeah, he
level.
was here for that with Amateo. We love Amateo. Amateo was boxing me today, and Daniel like responded back to him as me. That was fun.
Yeah, love it. Full circle.
Yep. Wow. So amazing things happen here. So if you guys get an opportunity to interact with this guy in your space, I know you'll love him. I was telling him how much, again, looking at some of these things, how much I adore his personality, your comments, all of who he is, from serious to quirky. He's like spiritual, the spiritual that I would want to participate in. I'll just put it that way.
You just gave me a compliment, Gasm.
Yeah?
Yeah,
I love that,
thank you.
right? How'd it feel? Did you go in your pants?
Well, no, I got a unicorn horn, though, on my pineal gland.
Okay, we're talking
too
about...
soon. All right, it's spiritual only.
See? No, they all love it.
love.
Right?
All right, we got some hearts for that.
I mean,
All
they're
right.
okay with it. These guys are okay with all things, Like, I mean, Guy has a dick in his brain. We can talk about that. You had
I
like
didn't
a
know
unicorn
that.
thing?
Wow, that
Totally.
explains a lot.
Guy has capabilities where all of a sudden he gets a dick in his brain and it like pops out. I mean, this is the same thing.
I don't know what that means. All right.
I don't either.
That'll be the next video.
I just know these things because they're my personal
Late night
clients.
video. Tune in,
Right?
2 a.m.
I'm excited to hear about other types of unicorn orgasms and all those things. So yes, this is for another day. I'm sure.
All right.
I'm sure we'll share more. Love you guys. What we really want you to hear: radical acceptance is your key to radical abundance and owning all of who you are.
Do
yes.
it.
Okay.
Love
Love you guys. Lock it down. Wink.